Good morning. This year 2025 is not going to wait for you. It doesn't care how tired you are. It doesn't care what you did or didn't do last year. It's already moving fast, and you have two options: stay where you are, or get up and get it done. Every one of us wakes up with a decision to make. Stay comfortable or grow. Hit snooze or show up. Complain or create. It's that simple, not easy, but simple. The future doesn't belong to those who wait. It belongs to those who act, the ones who push through resistance, who look at uncertainty and say, "Let's go anyway." The future belongs to those who act. It's a simple truth, often forgotten in the noise of overthinking and planning. Ideas are everywhere. Talk is cheap. Everyone has dreams, but not everyone dares to move. Action is the great divider. It's what separates potential from impact, intentions from reality. Every day, people wake up with thoughts of what could be. They imagine new businesses, healthier lives, better relationships, and bolder moves. But by noon, those ideas are already buried under distractions, fears, and reasons to delay. Action is not just about movement, it's about commitment. It's the willingness to risk being wrong in order to learn what's right. It's about starting, even if the start is messy. Because without that first step, the second never comes. People often mistake busyness for action. They fill their time with meetings, emails, scrolling, planning. They feel productive, but they're not moving forward. True action doesn't feel comfortable. It's uncertain. It involves rejection, failure, and feedback that might hurt. That's why so many avoid it. But the truth is, growth lives on the other side of discomfort, and the only way to reach it is to act. In any field, technology, art, education, business. The people who make an impact are not always the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who start. They're the ones who hit send, who launch, who publish, who ship. They don't wait until the plan is perfect or the timing is right. They act, learn, adjust, and keep going. Opportunity doesn't knock politely. It whispers while you're moving. It reveals itself in motion. You can't wait for clarity before acting. Clarity comes asterisk through asterisk action. When you sit still, everything feels risky. When you move, the path reveals itself. The mistake people make is thinking they need more information, more preparation, more confidence. What they really need is more action. Not reckless, impulsive action, but bold, deliberate steps forward. Inaction has a cost. It drains energy, creates anxiety, and kills momentum. It leaves dreams stuck in your head where they rot. Every day you don't act is a day someone else does. Someone else puts their ideas into the world. Someone else writes the book, starts the company, has the conversation, builds the product. The world rewards action. It notices those who move. It forgets those who don't. It doesn't matter how small the action is. What matters is that it happens. One email, one call, one page, one prototype, action compounds, one step leads to the next, and suddenly, what once felt impossible starts to look inevitable. The people who act understand this. They don't overthink. They asterisk do. Asterisk they know perfection is the enemy of progress. They understand that version 1 beats version none. Acting doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees learning, and learning moves you forward. Every time you take a step, you either win or grow. That's how momentum is built, not by waiting for the stars to align, but by walking under cloudy skies and trusting that the sun will follow. The ones who act don't fear mistakes. They know mistakes are data. They know you can't steer a parked car. Waiting feels safe, but it's a slow death for ambition. Those who wait miss windows of opportunity that never return. Time doesn't pause while you prepare. The clock keeps ticking, the market shifts, people move on, and while you hesitate, someone else is building the thing you were only thinking about. Acting is not about feeling ready. It's about choosing to start, even when you don't. Readiness is a myth. No one ever feels fully prepared. The ones who get ahead are those who act before they feel ready. They jump, then build wings on the way down. They understand that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's movement despite it. Because the future doesn't reward potential, it rewards execution. Decisions create breakthroughs. Everything begins with a choice. Not a perfect choice, not always a smart one, but a clear and committed decision. That single moment when you stop hesitating and say, "This is the way I'm going." All progress starts there, before the work, before the success, before the growth. There's always a decision. You can study, research, plan, and analyze for weeks or years, but until a decision is made, you remain stuck in place. People often underestimate the power of a decision. They think action is what matters most, and while action is critical, it's impossible without a choice to initiate it. The reason most people stay stuck is not because they lack resources, time, or talent. It's because they avoid deciding. They dance around their options. They wait for signs. They want guarantees. But decisions don't come with guarantees. They come with responsibility, and that's why they're so powerful. A decision says, "I'm no longer available for the way things have been." It's a line in the sand. It turns intention into commitment. Vague wishes become focused goals. Maybes become musts. It shifts your posture, your energy, and your mindset. You go from drifting to driving. You stop looking at all the roads and start walking one. That's when doors open. That's when resources start appearing, not before. People think they need more certainty before they decide. But certainty is the reward of a decision, not the prerequisite. Clarity often doesn't come before the decision. It comes after. You can't think your way to a breakthrough. You have to choose your way there. Even the wrong decision, made with intention, teaches you something. It creates momentum. It shakes you out of paralysis. And momentum matters more than perfection, because you can course, correct as you go, but you can't steer something that hasn't started moving. The biggest transformations in life happen not because of slow, gradual shifts, but because of bold decisions. A moment when someone says enough and steps forward. A moment when someone chooses to leave what's familiar, even if it's safe, and pursue what's meaningful, even if it's risky. Those moments are rare for most people, not because they don't have the chance, but because they resist the discomfort of deciding. Making a real decision means you're letting go of other options. It means you're closing doors. And that scares people, but that focus is exactly what allows excellence. When you truly decide, excuses disappear. You stop negotiating with your own limitations. You stop waiting for the mood, the motivation, the perfect time. You just move, and from that movement, something shifts. The people who make the most progress are the ones who stop asking, "What if it doesn't work?" and start saying, "I'll figure it out." That shift doesn't come from talent. It comes from decision. Sometimes we get stuck because we're trying to keep all our options open. We want safety nets in every direction, but breakthroughs don't come from holding back. They come from commitment. They come from burning the backup plan. They come from saying yes so loudly that every other answer disappears. That intensity is what cuts through resistance. That focus is what leads to results. In every breakthrough story, there's a moment of decision. A moment that redefined what was possible. A moment that wasn't comfortable or convenient, but necessary. You don't drift into greatness. You choose your way there. You don't stumble into purpose. You decide to pursue it. Most people don't need more motivation. They need to make a real decision and stop leaving room for anything less than the result they want. A decision made with clarity and commitment has more power than 1,000 hours of hesitant effort. It aligns your thoughts, your energy, and your actions. It tells the world where you're going. It tells yourself who you're becoming, and everything starts to change from that point forward. There is no perfect moment, only now. It's a phrase that feels cliché until you realize how deeply it defines the gap between where you are and where you want to be. People spend days, months, sometimes years waiting for conditions to align. Waiting for the fear to fade, waiting for the doubt to disappear. But that moment of complete clarity and absolute confidence never arrives. It's a fantasy, and the longer you wait for perfect, the more time you waste in the illusion of preparation. The truth is, most of the progress you dream of begins in motion, not in waiting. You can prepare, you can plan, but none of it substitutes for doing. Starting without perfect conditions is not reckless, it's necessary. Because the conditions will never feel perfect. Life doesn't pause to let you catch up. Time doesn't stop while you get comfortable. It moves forward with or without your participation. And the opportunity you hesitate on today may be gone tomorrow, taken by someone who decided to act without waiting for the green light. People often think that starting later will somehow make things easier, that more time means better results, but more time also means more fear, more second guessing, more chances to talk yourself out of what you were once excited about. Perfectionism becomes a prison. You polish ideas until they fade. You revise plans until they're no longer bold. You rehearse until the passion is gone. And eventually, you convince yourself that the thing you once wanted wasn't even worth it. But there is no ideal time to start something important. Not for the big things, not for writing the book, launching the company, making the move, starting the conversation, changing direction. Those things always carry uncertainty. They always demand a leap. And the longer you wait, the harder it gets. The resistance grows, the energy fades, momentum slips away. You begin to think you need more information, but what you really need is more courage, not later, now. Acting now doesn't mean being impulsive. It means recognizing that forward motion is the only way to create clarity. The fog doesn't lift before you move, it lifts because you move. Each step reveals the next. Waiting for everything to be clear before you begin is like waiting for all the lights to turn green before driving across town. You'll never go anywhere. You have to trust the process. Trust that starting today imperfectly will get you further than waiting for tomorrow to feel flawless. Now is uncomfortable. Now is raw, now is full of unknowns, but now is real. It's where all change begins. It's where life happens. People waste years talking about what they're going to do. They collect advice, read books, watch videos, and get inspired. But nothing changes until they act, until they take the first awkward step. That's the moment momentum begins, not when everything is ready, but when you decide to go anyway. Regret doesn't come from what you did too soon. It comes from what you never started. Ask anyone who's lived long enough to reflect. They'll tell you, the pain of failure is temporary. The pain of what if lasts much longer. And in almost every case, the thing they feared wasn't nearly as bad as the fear itself. Most of the time, you're not waiting for the right time. You're avoiding discomfort. But discomfort is part of the process. It's the tax on growth. You can't skip it. The people who succeed aren't fearless. They just understand that waiting for perfection is a trap. They don't need certainty. They need movement. Because movement creates direction, and direction builds momentum. Every big achievement started with a step taken before the person felt ready. Not after, not when the stars aligned, but in the messy, uncertain middle of now. The moment you act without waiting for perfection, you take back control of your time, your energy, and your future. Consistency beats intensity. It's tempting to believe that greatness comes from dramatic effort, a huge burst of energy, a late-night sprint, a sudden leap forward, and yes, those moments can be powerful, even inspiring. But they are not what builds anything that lasts. The real progress, the lasting change, the mastery of any craft. Those things are built in quiet, daily repetition. In the unglamorous moments, in the showing up even when you don't feel like it. Intensity fades, emotion fades, motivation comes and goes, but consistency stays. It's the steady beat that keeps momentum alive. It doesn't matter how passionate you are one day if you disappear for the next 30. One workout won't transform your health. One inspired day of work won't build a career. One amazing idea won't create a legacy. It's the slow grind, the relentless follow, through the disciplined action repeated over time that makes the difference. The truth is, most people can do something impressive once. They can summon a burst of strength, push through for a day, maybe even a week. But the ones who win are the ones who can do the boring stuff over and over. They make the call, write the page, show up to the practice, keep the promise. Not because they always want to, but because they decided to. Consistency doesn't ask how you feel. It asks whether you're committed. That's where the real edge comes from. While others are waiting for the perfect mood, the right energy, the spark of inspiration, the consistent person is moving forward. Slowly, maybe, quietly, yes. But moving forward always, the results start to compound, the small wins add up, and over time, what looked like discipline turns into identity. You become the kind of person who follows through, the kind of person who can be counted on. Not just when it's exciting, but especially when it's not. This is where people often misunderstand success. They think it's about brilliance, about being naturally gifted or endlessly inspired. But brilliance without consistency is wasted potential. A strong start without follow-through is just another unfinished story. The world is full of people who almost did something, who had the talent but not the habit, who had the fire but not the structure. It's not enough to want something. You have to build the muscle of doing it over and over. Repetition creates rhythm, rhythm creates flow, flow creates mastery. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. If your system is built on random bursts of effort, your results will be random too. But if your system is built on daily, deliberate action, your results will reflect that consistency. Even when progress feels slow, you're building something deep. You're stacking discipline, you're earning trust, with yourself and with others. Consistency isn't glamorous, it doesn't go viral, it's not dramatic. It's showing up early when no one notices, staying late when it's thankless, writing another page when you're stuck, practicing your craft when others are watching TV. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence, about doing what matters, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when it feels like nothing's happening. Because something asterisk is asterisk happening. Every rep counts. Every small action adds weight to your momentum. Over time, consistency builds a reputation. It builds confidence. It builds results that others can't ignore. You stop needing motivation because you've built momentum. You stop needing to get ready because you've stayed ready. While others are burning out from their unsustainable pace, you're gaining strength from your rhythm. Consistency doesn't mean never resting. It means not quitting. It means holding the line when it would be easier to drop it. It means trusting the process when it would be easier to chase the shortcut. Most people underestimate what they can achieve in a year of steady effort. They overestimate what can be done in a week and lose hope when it doesn't happen fast. But those who play the long game always win. Curiosity and courage matter more than credentials. In a world that constantly measures people by titles, degrees, and awards, it's easy to forget where true progress really comes from. It doesn't come from resumes. It doesn't come from framed certificates. It comes from those who ask better questions and are brave enough to chase the answers. It comes from people who don't wait to be told what to do, but instead explore, tinker, and leap. Credentials may open a door, but curiosity and courage build the entire house. There's a myth that success belongs to the most qualified, that the ones with the best background are automatically the most capable. But that's not how the real world works. The real world rewards initiative, it rewards experimentation, it rewards the ones who stay hungry for knowledge, who keep learning long after the class ends, and who take bold steps when others are still asking for permission. You don't need to know everything. You just need to care enough to find out and fearless enough to try. Curiosity drives innovation. It's what leads you to ask, why is it done this way? And then, what if it wasn't? It refuses to accept the status quo as the only way forward. Curious people don't stop at surface-level answers. They dig. They learn because they want to, not because they have to. And that kind of learning never ends. It stretches across disciplines, into conversations, through mistakes, across failures. It doesn't stay confined to a textbook or a classroom. It's alive. It's relentless. Courage is what gives that curiosity power, because learning something new often means confronting what you don't know. It means risking looking stupid. It means trying something and possibly failing in public. But the people who make breakthroughs are the ones who aren't afraid of that. They see failure as part of the path. They're more interested in progress than approval. They're not worried about being the smartest in the room. They're just trying to grow. That kind of courage is magnetic. It moves things forward. Credentials are earned once. Curiosity and courage must be earned every day. You can't coast on a diploma. You can't build a life or a legacy off of one certification. The world is changing too fast for that. What you knew 5 years ago may not matter today. What matters is whether you're still learning, still evolving, still stepping into discomfort. If you are, you'll always be ahead, regardless of what's written on your business card. Some of the most impactful ideas in the world didn't come from experts. They came from outsiders, from people who didn't know it wasn't supposed to be done that way. They came from people who were too curious to leave a question unanswered and too bold to stop when others told them no. They weren't the most credentialed. They were the most committed to learning, to exploring, to solving problems because they cared enough to keep going. Curiosity and courage can't be measured by grades. They show up in persistence, in side projects, in late-night experiments, in asking hard questions and not settling for easy answers. They show up when someone takes a risk, not because they're sure it will work, but because they're excited to find out what happens. And that mindset is what changes everything. That mindset builds resilience. It opens new paths. It creates possibility where others only see limits. The world is full of people with qualifications who never make a difference. It's also full of curious and courageous people who rewrite the rules, who start without knowing how and figure it out as they go, who don't need permission to begin. What sets them apart isn't their paperwork. It's their mindset, their willingness to ask, to try, to fail, to learn, and to try again. That's the edge, that's the advantage, that's what really moves the needle. Get up, get it done, no excuses. This isn't about being tough for the sake of it. It's about claiming ownership of your time, your choices, your future. Every day you wake up is a decision point. You either move or you stall. You either create or consume. You either lean in or back off. Life doesn't wait for ideal circumstances. It rewards those who rise despite them, the ones who get up even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Excuses are easy. They're seductive. They feel like protection. They justify delay, soften failure, and give you something to blame. But every excuse costs you something. Time, momentum, confidence, belief. Every time you make one, you reinforce the idea that something outside of you controls your life. That the weather, the traffic, your past, your energy, your boss, your upbringing, or your situation has the final say, but it doesn't. You do. That choice is the power you hold, whether you use it or not. Getting it done doesn't mean you have to crush everything perfectly. It doesn't mean hustle until you collapse. It means following through on the things you said mattered. It means doing the work even when the spark is gone. Even when you're tired, even when no one's watching, especially then, because anyone can act when it's easy. What defines you is what you do when it isn't. Discipline isn't about motivation. It's not about waiting until you feel like it. It's about getting up anyway, showing up anyway. There will be mornings when you want to stay in bed, afternoons when you want to quit early, days when nothing is working and you feel invisible. But your job isn't to feel great all the time. Your job is to keep going. Progress happens when you do the thing you don't want to do over and over until it becomes who you are. The most dangerous voice is the quiet one in your head that says, "Just this once, it's okay to skip." That voice doesn't shout. It whispers, it sounds reasonable, but every time you listen, it weakens your momentum. One day becomes two becomes a week. Soon, you're back to watching from the sidelines, wondering where the fire went. The truth is, it didn't go anywhere. You just stopped feeding it. Getting it done is about honoring your commitments, not just to others, but to yourself. It's about becoming the kind of person you can count on. That's how self-respect is built. Not through hype or promises, but through action, through doing what needs to be done whether you feel like it or not, through winning the battle of the day again and again until the results start to show. There will always be reasons not to move, not enough time, not enough sleep, too much going on, too much uncertainty, but the people who build anything meaningful in life are the ones who move anyway. They don't wait for permission. They don't hope someone will come rescue them from the hard parts. They look the challenge in the eye and they move, sometimes slowly, sometimes awkwardly, but always forward. Excuses are comfortable. They ask nothing of you, but they give you nothing in return. Action is uncomfortable. It demands energy, focus, and risk. But it gives you momentum. It gives you pride. It gives you results. It gives you growth. The people you admire, the ones who have built something that matters, they didn't have fewer problems. They had fewer excuses. You won't always feel strong. You won't always feel ready. But you don't need to. What you need is to get up when it's easier to stay down, to begin when it would be easier to stall, to finish when it would be easier to justify quitting. That's where the shift happens. That's where the power is, in the choice to act without an excuse, again and again, until what once felt hard becomes your new normal.